104 Spice FM, Nairobi.
Our conversation continues with Rebecca and Dr. Mutungi. It's about food loss and waste. Rebecca, you said we need to think, we need to start taking action. And you say from the point of a consumer, even looking at the trader, and in fact, you kept repeating the trader. You are seeing your produce is actually almost getting out of market. What decision do you take? Now, remember, a trader is there to make money. And they can clearly see, I bought a bunch of bananas, they haven't been bought, and I'm going to incur a loss. So they're definitely not just sitting there, not thinking what to do. I've just remembered, as we were having that conversation, the conversation that we've had here with the chairperson of the Mitumba Consortium of Kenya, right? She's got Teresa here. And she was telling us about this Mitumba entire value chain. From the time the mitumbas are brought in by the big importers in containers, in big bales, then they open the bales and the people come and take camera and the rest. And the ones that have not been taken, they'll still end up in the market.
Yes.
When you see people selling mitumba and saying, kumi, this is because it just comes, it's the last bit, and those will still find someone. So business knows, I do not want to incur a loss. Even if it's sell it for 10 bob, it's okay. You pick it, go and sell it for 5 bob, it's okay. So this person who is watching as their bananas are going to waste, or as their avocado is going to waste, it's not that they're not thinking. So what is lacking? It's the option. It's the option of the what next, probably. It's somebody to offtake this, so that then the other side comes in. So if I offtake these old overripe bananas, what can I do with them? Can I go and make banana bread for mass distribution? It's that's lacking.
Absolutely.
Who brings that other person into this conversation? If you think about what the government has been talking about, I think we've spent several billions already so far on development of the county aggregation and industrial parks. We have spent a lot of money in the Ministry of Cooperatives and MSMEs over the years, trying to bring cooperatives together and farmer cooperatives for aggregation purposes again. That's a missing link, despite all the time and money and effort and knowledge that is there. Why, Rebecca?
So thank you for that question. And I think, let me step back and not just talk about the food loss and waste issue and who, but think about the whole agri-food system and the actors and the inefficiencies and the processes that are going on within the agri-food system. So the conversation we are having right now is how do we move from working in silos? Because you're saying there's somebody who has this produce here, somebody else is not able to offtake. Sometimes it's lack of information, sometimes is lack of, I don't know, once I offtake, what do I do with it? So we are saying that for us to improve our food system, we need to move away from working in our silos, in our own cocoons, in our own specialities, and think about joint collaboration efforts to improve the inefficiencies within the agri-food system. Now, when we come to addressing food loss and waste, one of the things that FAO has done in collaboration with the Ministry of Agriculture is develop the National Post-Harvest Strategy for Management of Food Loss and Waste. This strategy, which was developed as a joint effort, and one of the things that was very innovative is that was bringing all stakeholders together so that everybody is able to bring issues and understand and say what role, as a private sector, what role can we play in addressing food loss and waste? As the government, what role can we play? What actions are we going to take? As traders, as a community of farmers, what are we going to do? So there are certain interventions that are in that strategy. One of them is to, first of all, ensure that we enhance multi-sector collaboration, because the issue of food loss and waste is not a one-sector issue. It's not a Ministry of Agriculture issue only. We have the Ministry of Environment that is mandated with ensuring that we have a safe environment and waste management. We have the Ministry of Trade, whereby a lot of this waste, especially at market level, is generated. We have Ministry of Health. So how do we bring all these stakeholders together to ensure that we are dealing with this issue in a very collaborative way? So that's one of the way. And I think when we say who should be on this or who should make things work, we all have a role to play. When you think about knowledge and information, I don't know how to dehydrate my fruits or my vegetables. We have research and academia. They bring in this knowledge, develop training packages so that we are able to train. We have a very vibrant youth population, and unemployment rate is always very high statistics in Kenya, especially in urban areas. So why can't we create training packages that are very cost effective and train our young people on how to offtake, yes, and how do we create things, other byproducts from this food that would otherwise have gone to waste. When we think about government, is there legislation? Are there regulations to support management of waste? Sometimes the issue of waste can be as much as simple as a retailer, as you're saying, Eric. As a retailer, as a supermarket, I'm in business. So I always put up maybe a markup to a point where I know I'll make my profit. And when it gets to the wastes, I have covered that waste in the cost that I transfer to you as a consumer. So as you're seeing those pineapples, the cost was already covered.
In what was bought.
In what was bought, what was sold to the initial person. So that's why I'm not so... you're not feeling it possibly as the actor there, because you've already made your money from the first batch of the pineapples you sold.
But that also talks about that ingenuity of the trader.
Absolutely. Yeah.
You see, the trader is already looking and seeing, naturally here, I'm going to have a 20% loss, all right? So I need to make sure that as I'm selling, it covers the 20%. It's the same reason why, for example, I remember having conversations with the people in the meat industry, and they're saying, one of the reasons why meat is expensive in this country, it's because that trader bought carcass. It has bone, it has all those things. Some of this bone is not going to end up in anyone's plate. It's not going to be able to sell. And then I'm going to have some losses because I don't have chillers, I don't have cold chain. And so they factored it in. When you're buying your kilo of meat, you're buying it, that price includes what is going to waste later. It's the ingenuity of the trader, but it hurts everybody, including that trader, right? And the thing that you're saying, for example, there's a strategy on how to address food loss and waste. And that strategy has then some action points. How far are we in implementing that strategy? If we just think about it and look back, are we on course with the implementation of the strategy?
The strategy was just finalized.
Okay.
It will be launched this International Day of Awareness.
Oh, brilliant.
And we start on implementation and tracking progress. It was very important that we put up indicators on how to track progress in implementation by the different stakeholders.
Does it have like an owner, this thing?
Yeah.
Or is it going to be the different people, Ministry of Environment plus Ministry of Trade plus because of this intervention that talks about collaboration, all of you are owners of it? And you know what happens when you have three ministries?
Maybe I can...
Whose head should we...
Maybe I can say
ask
something
for
because
if it doesn't work?
I've seen it.
Yes.
I've seen the strategy, and the next steps after the launch are clear in our mind. We must now move to the counties and help counties develop action plans. And I think that is the bigger task ahead of us. And if we can demonstrate with several counties that this thing is making sense, then there are obviously those counties that come a little bit behind. They will be able to learn from what is happening elsewhere. But as you have said, really, I think there's need to mainstream in terms of even the ministries in terms of the way they relate. I mean, it's not only a question of an environment ministry. Unfortunately, even when you think of matters of waste, even if it's coming from a food, seems to be addressed by the Ministry of Environment in most cases, not necessarily in our country, but also elsewhere. But we want to have a system where we can help county governments also to mainstream and speak to each other with respect to issues of waste in terms of food loss and waste. Agriculture, trade, environment, social services, all this, they have a role to play.
Health.
And it's clear in the strategy. I think they were involved in the development of the strategy. Yeah.
Is there an understanding? Because, again, coming back to actors who work interdependently, is there an understanding across the board as to how severe this issue is and what can actually be done? Because remember that, if I'm just using Kenya as an example here, and then we can use that maybe to bring in some of the policies that you work with, that we've come out of a heavy months of extreme flooding between the months of March and June. It was crazy. But this is interesting because we came out of August to November, December last year, where there was extreme drought and there were people on the brink of starvation. So when we look at that vis-a-vis the kind of loss and waste that is still existing, when you have that extreme level, then I think it would beg the question that is there an understanding of the severity of the issue and say, look, how can we take what we see here and apply it somewhere else? Even if you're not giving people who are starving pineapples, but you're getting a value add out of using that you can free up resources to sort out people on this other end who may be starving. At the policy level, are such discussions being had?
I think the understanding, we are not there yet in terms of understanding the severity of food loss and waste, and even understanding the implications on the future, the future generation and the future of our, let's say, our country, or even the future of the world. Because we are just seeing it as it is at the moment. We are just seeing that it's just those pineapples piled there at the moment. Maybe they won't be there next. We're not thinking about the impact on climate change, what it will cost us in terms of when we throw it in the landfills and the greenhouse gas emissions. What is it going to cost us now and in the future? And that is where we now need to generate or to come up with data, because informed decision making requires relevant data, on-time data. So we need to understand, to come up with data on food loss and waste measurements, understand the economic loss implications, and understand, for example, when you say there's evidence that indicates that per capita food consumption in Africa is about 1.5 kgs. So, and vis-a-vis the wastes, each individual wastes about 31 kgs at household level. When you think about the retail, it can go, and service sector, these hotels and what, it can go up to 90 kgs.
31 kilos per year.
1 kg.
Yes.
Per person.
Per person.
Waste.
That's just one study.
What?
Another study indicates that it can be up to 90 kgs for the service industry. That is the hotel. When you go to a hotel and there's all this buffet and you pick and pick and pick and nobody eats, it can go up to 90 kgs per person. So we need those kind of calculations and see this 90 kgs, how many people can it feed? If you as one individual person, and how many people can this 90 kg feed? So data is really important. And that's one of the key things that as FAO and with partnership with other players like WRI, with government, within the strategy, there's a lot of focus on data, because we are also lacking enough data to inform decision making, because most of the times you cannot act on what you don't know. And most of the time, we are only seeing that food on the plate. We do not see the consequences after and what happens through the waste and the loss.
You know,
Absolutely.
Go ahead.
No, I just wanted to pick from where she left. That data is really key, and we say you have to measure. And if you don't measure, you don't understand what is happening, then you cannot take the right action. One of our running statements is that we apply this slogan that you measure, set your targets, and take actions. And after taking action, come back again and track those actions. So it's measure, target, measure, act approach. But I don't want to leave without saying that some of the partners that we have done some very good job. I want to, speaking to the question of salvaging food. There's an organization called Food Bank in Kenya. I don't know whether you're aware of it.
Heard of it.
Yes. And they recover food actually from the farm, from companies that, or even processors who think they have excess food, and they transmit it to people who need it. They're doing very well.
Yeah.
There's another organization called Retrack that does very good work in terms of understanding what policies might be needed to encourage food recovery, for example, from food service.
This is the Retail Trade Association.
Yes. I think it's good to mention them because they're doing a good job, and they're our partners as well. Yeah.
You know what? If you think about because there are very many people who are doing things in their own small way, particularly in the private sector. They're trying to move things, to get things moving, right? And you look back at, they need an enabler, and everybody understands this. For example, the whole talk about cooperatives in this country has for a long time been cooperatives are good. Why are they good? They're good because, for example, farmer cooperatives, economies of scale, they make inputs cheaper. And then linkages to market, they make it easier. And then economies of scale as well, they help to reduce post-harvest losses because you'll be able then to get one place where you have cold chain, which can help the farmers. All those things are understood. And we have farmer cooperatives that have been established in this country. Why is it that we still, for example, despite having farmer cooperatives in Nyandarua, we still have potatoes going to waste and milk going to waste? And despite having farmer cooperatives in Ukambani, in Makueni, in Kitui, we still have mangoes going to waste. Why? What's missing here?
That's a difficult question. I will throw it to the food systems expert. You can.
I think these are the inefficiencies we are talking about within the agri-food system, and designing programs and policies, including the cooperatives themselves, with the key stakeholders in mind is really critical. And this is the farmer. So you're talking about cooperatives, Nyandarua, and you have farmers pouring milk on the road, yet there is a cooperative or there's somewhere they can go and take their milk, which has a cooling facility to reduce the waste. But again, rationality in terms of as a rational farmer, and you're in here as a business case, you're here to make money. Possibly an issue to do with the economic factors, at that moment. I'm not saying that's the case. Maybe the price is not right for you at that moment, and you make that decision I will not take to the cooperative, the offers that I'm getting at the cooperatives do not suit me. And we need to understand some things with post-harvest. Farmers are not only just farming for the sake of it most of the time. It's it's a livelihood.
Yep.
Yeah.
So when, as a farmer, you produce your milk, you have bills to pay. You have education bills, you have health bills, and you have that. So you are also making a rational decision to look at somebody who will pay you for that, and within the least time possible, isn't it? So those are some of the factors that may influence the decision for these farmers to do what they do and not work with the cooperatives. So again, there we need to think about what kind of institutional arrangements need to improve within the cooperatives to enable farmers, improve this enabling environment within the cooperatives, within the aggregation centers, to enable farmers take their produce there and get the return that they were expecting, vis-a-vis them now going and deciding I'd rather
ipotee. Yeah, because there's nothing coming. But also maybe, just thinking top of my mind, maybe also because we don't have a properly established market system, various market systems. Because then if you think about it, if you're thought about, we talk about value addition all the time. So value addition is already a market system, and then you're going up and up and up towards, you've added value here, so where are you taking it to? If we had a properly structured and modernized and developed market system, that farmer cooperative, because probably the farmer has not taken the milk to the cooperative because the cooperative has told them, look, our chillers are full. And our chillers are full because we don't have an off-taker of this excess produce that we have right now. Their normal off-taker already has reached their capacity. So there's a surplus, and not other players who would play, for example, into converting milk into milk powder or into other products. So it just is not developing well enough, not developed well enough. Same thing with mangoes. So like a cooperative takes the mangoes to this particular off-taker, one off-taker. This one off-taker is now saturated. So saturation of the market ends up with farm gate losses.
Yeah, I mean, I think you are right. There's a need sort of to look at, as she says, the institution of support mechanism, or the governance mechanisms at the cooperatives. But you are right. The biggest challenge in laws, food laws and waste, appears to be market access. And the next one would be perhaps logistics, which is related to infrastructure. I mentioned earlier about how we are engaging companies to innovate around, for example, to be able to increase their off-take rates, or even innovate in terms of making fittings contractual arrangements with farmers. It's not going to happen probably for all commodities, but they will start making movements in the right direction, and this could provide very useful lessons for other companies.
Yeah. So tell us about Sunday. Is there a gig somewhere? Can we get Monday as a public holiday?
I am sure whether you get a public holiday, but let's put it even in right context. The fact that it's coming on Sunday, it's a good thing for people. I mean, I hope you're Christians, You remember that one parable in the Bible where Jesus fed 5,000 people, and there were remains. He told the disciples, you guys collect everything so that nothing is lost or wasted. And that story appears in the 4 Gospels, Matthew. So we are doing something that we're really passionate about, and we hope we could also use that avenue, for example, on Sundays for some of us who are leaders in church, to speak about the issues that affect us as people, as congregations. And one of them is this question of food. Yeah.
So is there an event?
Different partners have organized events, but I don't think it will take place on Sunday.
Okay.
Perhaps there will be a rollover in the following week.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so in terms of events, what we are doing is creating awareness within our programs at FAO, because we work at county level on the issue of food loss and waste. But we are also going to be combining this awareness day in October with the World Food Day, where we are also going to have an event to create this more awareness within a bigger group on why do we need to address food loss and waste, and also launch the post-harvest strategy. Yeah.
That's a good one. We have a policy on food security, food and nutrition security policy. We cannot be talking about food security if 30% of what we're producing as food is going to waste, and we do nothing about it. So it's good that you're raising this conversation, and we thank you very much for joining us today. We have been talking to Rebecca Wanjiro. She is a food systems specialist at the Food and Agriculture Organization, FAO, and Dr. Christopher Mutungi, senior researcher for food programs at the World Resources Institute. This is a very important conversation coming ahead of the International Day of Awareness of Food Loss and Waste 2024 that will be commemorated on Sunday, the 29th of September. Keep it here for more conversations that are coming up. In the next hour, we talk to Dr. Dan Gekonyo, Matters of the Heart, 9 a.m.